Hi, my name is Lucy Malenke, and I'm a faculty member in the University Writing Center. I serve as liaison to the College of Health and Behavioral Studies, which means I spend a lot of time working with students and faculty on research writing and scientific papers. This is the first in a series of 4 screencasts designed to help you with your Kinesiology 425 final project. This semester, you're going to be designing an exercise program. And part of this project involves writing a literature review for your sport. You may have written a literature review before, or maybe this is your first time. Maybe you're not quite sure what a literature review is. That's okay. We're going to answer this question. But let's start by zooming out and thinking about the broader context that has made literature reviews an important part of scholarship in your field. You've probably already realized that research does not happen in a vacuum. The books and journal articles that you read for your classes are part of a larger scholarly conversation. Right now, you're practicing what it means to use scholarship to build a training program. But if you go on to graduate school, and maybe even before that, you'll be expected to participate in and contribute to this conversation. So where does the scholarly conversation start? Usually, there are major works that are written on a topic. These might be the foundation of your field of study or the key theories that have shaped the field. Think of the big names that pop up over and over again in your classes, or the books that everyone in your field is expected to have read. That's what these 3 post-it notes represent. What happens next is that other scholars and researchers react to these key works. Maybe they apply them to their particular areas of interest. Maybe they adapt them to explain new discoveries. Maybe they investigate practical applications. Or maybe they challenge those commonly accepted theories. And they see that other scholars are reacting, and they react to them too. And more scholars jump in. They complete studies that test previous hypotheses. They recognize gaps and try to fill them. They add depth and complexity to existing knowledge. They develop new methods. Eventually, you end up with something like this. This is how knowledge gets created. And knowledge isn't this static thing, but it's something that's always changing and evolving based on new discoveries. If you were conducting an empirical research project, you'd need to point out some gap or tension in this web of ideas to justify the existence of your study. But in the literature review you're writing for the final paper in this class, you'll just need to make some observations about the particular corner of the conversation that's relevant to your sport. And the reason you're doing this is to set up the decisions you'll make for your training program. So what are literature reviews? According to the APA, literature reviews organize, integrate, and evaluate previously published material. They also review the progress of research toward clarifying a problem. And what exactly is the literature? It's not those classic books you read back in high school English. In most cases, the literature refers to scholarly articles published by researchers in peer-reviewed journals. The literature also includes books by scientists, scholars, or experts, and materials presented at conferences in your field. Occasionally, non-scientific sources will be referenced in a literature review, but that's usually just to demonstrate the popular or public understanding of a topic. You should know that there are different types of literature reviews. Some are more selective, meaning the previous research they choose to examine is narrow in scope, very likely limited to a particular field and a particular topic. Some are more comprehensive, meaning they cast a wide net, covering a long span of time and breadth of research, very likely including scholarship from a number of fields about a number of relevant topics. Literature reviews can also be part of a larger work, or they can be standalone works. Let's think about some examples of each. You might be asked to do a selective, standalone literature review for a class. Perhaps you'll be asked to examine a number of studies on a specific topic. You might be asked to use the literature to answer a question, like how have the methods for measuring VO2 max changed over time? Or what factors impact the motivation to exercise in the geriatric population? The purposes of this kind of assignment are to make observations about the nature of scholarship in a particular area, to demonstrate your understanding of a specific topic or theory, and to show your ability to organize, synthesize, and evaluate information. This kind of literature review is standalone. It simply describes and analyzes the scholarly conversation about a particular topic. If you decide to complete a PhD in kinesiology, you will also have to complete a literature review as part of your dissertation. Usually, a full chapter is dedicated to the literature review in a dissertation. In this case, your literature review will be broad in scope and part of a larger work. Its purpose is to set up the original experiment or series of experiments that you've designed to answer a research question. A dissertation literature review also signals theoretical and methodological expertise. It situates your research in a broader scholarly and historical context. It demonstrates that your dissertation topic advances collective understanding in your field, and it establishes a framework for evaluating the results of your project. In short, it serves as the foundation for a project that takes several years to execute. Scholars and experts in the field of kinesiology also conduct original studies and experiments in order to advance knowledge, and they publish the results of those projects in scholarly journals. This is something many of your professors are doing. A big difference between a dissertation and a journal article, though, is that a journal article is much shorter. And so is the literature review in a journal article, which happens in the opening section of the article. It provides a really focused review of relevant studies conducted by other researchers in order to justify the importance and relevance of the present study, to connect the study to previous investigations on the topic, and to establish a framework for evaluating the results of the study. These literature reviews tend to be relatively brief, maybe just 5 or 6 paragraphs, and thematically organized. So what kind of literature review are you writing as part of your current assignment? You aren't expected to discuss everything written about your sport. Your job is to focus on the research most applicable to your exercise program. So that means your literature review is selective. But it's also part of a larger work. After your literature review will come your athlete or team, your training goals, and ultimately your program. Everything you put in the literature review should have relevance to something that comes later in the paper.